Okay, here I am again making a video on the Final Fantasy IX Remake. In the process of making this particular video on do we really need a Final Fantasy IX remake, we got a few bits of news here and there, but I didn't want to make a dedicated video. It seems, according to insiders, that it is on track for 2026 and things are going smoothly and it's still being worked on. Take that with a grain of salt because all in all, when it comes to Final Fantasy IX remake, we have not had a single thing official. And that brings us to the subject at hand here with do we really need one? So with that being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. If you want to support the channel, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to stick around for some more Final Fantasy content, then please hit that subscribe button. So Final Fantasy IX Remake, do we need it? In short, yes, I think we do, but let's go over a few things. A comment that I get an awfully lot, which I'll address off the bat, is why not Final Fantasy VIII? And to that I say, yeah, I agree. I would love to see a Final Fantasy VIII remake as well, but Final Fantasy VIII, I don't know what I would like from it personally. I won't go into too much detail. I guess I could make a video dedicated to it myself, but I'm still debating whether I want it to be like 7R when it comes to its combat, or if I want it to stick as a turn-based ATB system. But I do agree with all of you out there that are saying, why not 8? Now back to 9. 9 currently is available on all platforms. I think you can even play it on your mobile phone. The PC version, the Steam version in particular, is probably the go-to version because that's where you can find the Megori mod, which is an amazing enhancement, bringing the game to life with better backgrounds, better models, effects that you can mess around with, different soundtracks. It's eventually going to get fully voice acted. So that's going to always be progressing, and I'll cover that as and when things come out because I think that's an incredible project and it's amazing to see how far Final Fantasy IX has come on PC. Now when it comes to consoles, we just have what I believe is the mobile port but made for consoles, so we've got like weird window boxes, and essentially the game is the same. I think the 3D models are enhanced, but we still have like pixelated pre-rendered backgrounds, and if you're playing that on a big screen it can be quite a bit of a mismatch really. So Final Fantasy IX, I've never had a problem with Final Fantasy IX. I think it's like the perfect Final Fantasy. It's the one that's aged the best. The only issue I have with it, all in all, is a little bit of the story when it comes to its final boss, and maybe having a bit of a lore to that. And then it would be the battle speed, particularly the way that Final Fantasy IX uses its camera angles in battle. It really can slow the pacing down, and it can make random battles feel like quite the slog. Yes, there's speed ups that you can use on these console versions, but I'd like just a natural, snappy experience where I don't have to mess with any modifiers unless I want to, again, play that PC version and apply everything that I want to. So if it's so perfect, Jen, why do we need a Final Fantasy IX remake? I think it's one of the Final Fantasies that best represent what Final Fantasy is about. I really would recommend it to people playing Final Fantasy for the first time. It's one of many that I would suggest. And I think a remake and the way that the game is in general, like we've got a very Disney-esque story. Not completely, but you know, we've got the guidelines. We've got a princess, we've got castles, we've got kingdoms, we've got like charming princes to a certain degree. We've got all of that like playfulness in Final Fantasy IX, but at the same time we have that little twist and that underlaying of darkness. And I think this could come across really well in a remade environment. Now, how would this remake go down? Well, let's talk about it graphically. I would aim for something like Ni no Kuni. I would aim for something like what we've just got with Romancing Saga 2, Trials of Mana. That kind of graphic style, because I think it would be more suited to the concept art and the way that Final Fantasy IX is already represented in that art style. I know that a lot of people want to keep with the pre-rendered backgrounds, and to a certain degree I would as well, but at the same time I would love to get a 3D view on Alexandria. I would love to look up at the skies and Lindblum and see the airships fly by as they come in and out. There's so much to Final Fantasy IX's world which would benefit from a 3D viewing camera in these towns. And again, back to Ni no Kuni, I think you can keep the classic world map style by having those small points on the map that when you enter it's a big bustling town. I've no issues on that kind of world map. I don't care if people think it's unrealistic, like, oh, he's as tall as a building. Man, this is classic world map, and if we can have more classic world maps, I'm happy. It doesn't need to be super realistic. I don't need to walk into a town as it looks. If I have a separate map that feels like a world that I'm traversing, I'm all in, baby. So graphically, that's what I would like from that, and they will transition into the battle as well. Let's not have everything animated, or at least to have it a little bit more snappy. I think Square could really learn from some of the current turn-based RPGs that we've had out there, like Metaphor and Persona, something a little bit more snappy and really implement it well. I think they can use Final Fantasy IX as like a pivotal point, like, hey, we can still do turn-based, and we can still do turn-based well. And when I say turn-based, I'm covering ATB as well. I know it changed in Final Fantasy IV, but I consider anything from Final Fantasy 1 through to 10 as turn-based, when I essentially mean just all of their systems. I'm sure you all know what I mean when I'm saying it. So with graphics out the way and the way the game works, let's talk about music ever so briefly. I think we should have the original soundtrack intact, and then have the option to switch to a reorchestrated soundtrack. It would be really nice to have an option, because Final Fantasy IX soundtrack is legendary in its own right, but I would love to hear some new arrangements or even some new songs along the way. When it comes to its gameplay, Final Fantasy IX, would I change anything in this remake? What would I have? How would I lay things out? Well, I talked about the battle system being a little bit more snappy. Just do what Atlas are doing with their turn-based RPGs, because they're snappy as hell. But when it comes to traversing the world, have the side quests, have the hidden items, make me want to search in every nook and cranny. Maybe this will benefit having a 3D map, because it gives us more options to maybe explore the Fountain of Alexandria now that we can walk around. Having the NPCs all voiced would be nice, just to make the world feel alive. Apart from that, I think everything that Final Fantasy IX that has it's in its gameplay is pretty much intact and has aged really well. And I'm a big fan of the ability system in Final Fantasy IX. I loved the fact that it would make me keep an item for as long as I learnt the ability from that item. So, for example, in any old RPG, you'd get a new weapon, you'd equip it and move on from the other one. Final Fantasy IX gives you a reason to keep certain accessories, keep certain armor, keep certain weapons. I think this is a system that they might be able to go in a little bit more depth with. I don't know how, but maybe they can dive in a little bit deeper, or just keep it intact, keep it the way it is, because it's a really nice system, and I would love to see what they decide to do with it. I guess if I'm talking about gameplay, I've got to briefly mention Tetramaster, because this is part of the story. There is a part of the story where you need to play Tetramaster, and Tetramaster, some people are going to tell you that they know how to play it end to end. I think Tetramaster has just got way too much RNG invested into it. Yes, I'm sure if you go to all of the numbers and go through all the coding, you'd be able to play it perfectly, and I'm sure there's going to be someone in the comments that's going to give us the best description on how to win every single game at Tetramaster. And to you I say, thank you for sharing, I appreciate it, but there are definitely ways that they could make this card game a little bit more simpler, right? They could make it a triple triad 2 and be more successful with it, but there is probably bells and whistles we can enhance. Maybe they just turn it back into triple triad. I don't know if that's going to create quite a conversation there if they did decide to do that, but I'm pretty sure if we're looking at the leaks that there was a pre-order for a Tetramaster card pack day 1 DLC or something along those lines, so that idea goes straight out the window. I'll just like it more refined, maybe a few more cards to collect. I don't know how they would be able to do it. I think ultimately a lot of the things that Final Fantasy IX offers, and then when it comes to its remake, when it eventually, or if it eventually comes out, it will stay intact for a lot of the staples of Final Fantasy IX. So I don't think we need to worry about too much changing. I don't think we're going to get a Final Fantasy VII remake battle system. It's going to stay turn-based. It's going to stay true, because that's what Final Fantasy was. It was a celebration of the series up to that point, and it did it so well. And I think that they can reuse that again to celebrate the series again, show you again, like, hey, Final Fantasy, this is Final Fantasy. Even though I think every Final Fantasy is a Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy IX, I would say, is Final Fantasy. It represents it the best. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think it does represent Final Fantasy the best. And I think that's about everything when it comes to Final Fantasy IX and what I would like from a remake. Do we really need one? I guess to a certain extent you could say no, but I really do think we do. I think it's long overdue. The fact that these rumors have been swirling for way too long now, I think people are just thinking, well, if it is real, we want to hear about it and we want to hear about it now. I'm sure we'll hear about it soon. If not, we can continue dreaming on. But I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Do you think we need a Final Fantasy IX remake? I appreciate your time, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.